Today on Restixin, we're going to make this yarn-wrapped, old-fashioned light bulb ornament. Hi everybody, it's Teresa with Restixin.com, and I'm back with another ornament for our vintage-inspired mid-century Christmas tree. So if you look back at old photos, the lights they used back then were way different than the lights we use now. I mean, even apart from like the really fancy LED lights or those little tiny rice lights, everything that they used back then were these giant light bulbs, and often in like just really bold colors. So I wanted to evoke that without having to commit to something so old-fashioned. I still wanted my modern little lights, but I wanted to evoke that tradition. So when I was at my craft store, I found these wooden ornaments in the shape of those old-fashioned light bulbs, and I knew I had to include them on my tree. So the first thing I did was paint it, because I knew whatever I was going to end up doing, I didn't want that raw wood to be peeking out and give away the illusion. So I painted this, the light bulb portion green, and this part, like the metal part, yellow, because I didn't have a gold handy. And that way, you know, whatever I put on top, if it pokes through, you'll see a color that's not wood. So when that part's done, looks like this. Now I'm going to bump up this little metal part. You know, leaving that yellow is just not enough. We're going to make that look a little more special and a little more like metal by doing some embossing powder over the top of it. So I pull over my little glue pot here, and I'm just going to spread some glue all over the top of this ornament here. And I'm not going to be afraid to use a lot of glue, because the stuff actually dries really fast and I want it to stay wet. Okay, so now you take your embossing powder. I'm using kind of an old-fashioned gold, and pour that all over your glue. Just like when you do glitter, you know, you want something to catch the extra powder, because you'll just kind of shake off whatever doesn't stick to that glue. Whoop. And you're going to want to reuse that sometimes. So save all that. Oh, there's a little bit more there. A little bit more there. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we're going to melt this powder by using a heat gun. And this gets really hot, so watch your fingers. And I'm just gonna point this heat onto the powder and get that all good and melted. Now we're already almost done. I should mention that because I'm using the glue under the embossing powder instead of like an ink or something like that, it kind of boils when the heat hits it. So it kind of bubbles up, but when it cools down, all of that will go down and it'll look great. So don't be alarmed by that. You're not doing anything wrong. That's how it should work. Okay, so now we're going to do a simple yarn wrapping treatment. So I got my glue pot again, and I'm just gonna work a little bit at a time, because like I said, this glue dries fast and you want it to be pretty wet when it hits the yarn. So that's plenty. On the very tip, I'm going to take my yarn and stick it down and just hold it there for, you know, a few seconds. Oh, I gotta give myself a little room to work here so I'm not just pulling it off. Okay, just let that stick for just a second. And then I'm going to make a little spiral on the very tip there. You see that? And I'm gonna cover up that raw edge with my yarn spiral. So that should kind of extend out to the side. And I'm just gonna start spiraling away on that glue. Now it can be a little bit tricky to start because you are trying to make a two-dimensional object go around a three-dimensional object. So you might just find just holding it like this for just a second, letting that glue set up, will save you some hassle later on. And then you just keep gluing and wrapping until you are done with the whole thing. Now once you get to the top of the bulb where it starts to curve back in, it can be a little bit tricky because the yarn kind of wants to compress, like it wants to kind of slide up. So take your time and then just kind of push the threads together as you go, and that'll make it look nice and neat. I've got this whole bulb wrapped now, so I'm just going to trim off that edge and then just tuck that down as tightly as I can into that wet glue. And that's it, it's done. So this is a fun project to do. Older kids could absolutely do this, and it looks so adorable on the tree. If I did a whole bunch of these in all kinds of different colors, oh my gosh, how cute would that look? And no time at all. So I hope that this was inspiring for you, that you'll give something like this a try this year and bring a little handmade into your holidays. If you have any questions, just leave them below and I'll help you out. Help me out by subscribing to this channel and you won't miss any of my big stuff I've got going on. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.